Hello and welcome to the Hitchhiker's Guide to Earth podcast, number 1. It is July 14th, 2022, and I am your host, Aaron Michael Daly. Yes, there have been some changes. Gone from blogger to vlogger to podcaster, but always a storyteller. And so it reflects in my bios across all of my social media now, so you know it has to be true, at least for the time being. I know, I'm hard to keep up with, but I'm in a constant state of transition as I continue to seek that which I want to do. Oh, it's like I want to say something like, that which will be most beneficial as I seek that which will be most beneficial to the world. But let's be honest, I'm just looking for something that holds my interest for more than 5 seconds. I was watching probably the Joe Rogan podcast yesterday, and he was talking with a neurological scientist about attention deficit disorder and the different drugs that people take, and they were talking about how it's not really an issue, how like people with ADD can totally focus on like video games for hours on end with no problem whatsoever. It's not a problem of being able to pay attention. It's that they only pay attention to things that interest them. That's interesting. It's like humanity is evolving for the sake of its survival to only focus on things that interest it truly, as opposed to things that are forced interests. The things they tell you you're supposed to be interested in when you go to school and when you watch television and listen to music and read books and all of those things. There's a general, this is what you should be interested in, this is normal, this is what you should do. That isn't necessarily what I was going to talk about today, but I am a storyteller. Yes. So it's early this morning. Well, earlier. I mean, yeah, I wanted to talk about my day and what I do all day. Oh, yes, that was it exactly. Um, I've always had this problem. People will ask you how you're doing, or how are you doing today? How are you doing today? And this has always been a kind of a brain freeze moment for me. Um, People don't notice it anymore these days because I don't talk to people face to face anymore. I pretty much only have contact with other human beings online. Um, and it's kind of a choice. It's not like it's not something I try to do. I just kind of where I am right now. That's a whole other subject. I'm going to stay on subject. So anyway, the crap. I need to write my subject down. How are you doing today? How are you doing today, Aaron? It's a complicated subject. It's a complicated answer for me always because my instinct is to answer honestly. Um, and it just doesn't do. And that's been a problem my entire life. People ask me how I'm doing, and I tell them really, not, oh, I'm fine, I'm good. I've had to train myself to do that. People ask you how you're doing, just be like, I'm good. But I finally come up with an answer that's true because I've adjusted my life for it to be true. That is also concise, and that is keeping busy. And so I guess I wanted to dedicate this podcast to what I've been keeping busy with. Um, Things like this podcast, which was a vlog, which is really a podcast. I looked up the definition of the word podcast. You're probably seeing that now. Um, and it's just anybody who makes an audio file that you can listen to. Person who talks and you listen. It's talk radio. It's the evolution of talk radio is what a podcast is. I don't know why I've never heard anyone say that, but that's exactly what it is. Podcasting is the evolution of talk radio, except it's much more widely available. It used to be the best you could hope for if you wanted to do your own talk show was public broadcasting. Like pretty much every town of any size, including the one I grew up in Malone, New York, which only had, I don't remember what the population was. It wasn't that much. I'm seeing it now. But yeah, we had a public broadcast station, and you could, it was open to the public. You could go down there and rent, sign in your name, and they'd give you a slot or time slot and you could do whatever your show was. It's how a lot of people that became famous later on got started. People, the only one I can think of off the top of my head is Tom Green. He used to do a public broadcast show. I think Conan might have possibly. I don't know. It used to be how you got started before YouTube. Anyway, or it was one way to get started without having to go through, like, yeah, the media gatekeepers that used to exist still exist in the sense that big tech is censoring and definitely using their algorithms to guide what people see. But at the same time, it's still there, and anybody on the entire planet can see what you post. So, anyway, yeah, podcasting is the new talk radio. So that's what I'm doing. Um, it's interesting though because it's it's interesting for so many reasons. There's a much more wide variety of subjects that people are talking about, and everyone is much more knowledgeable about the subjects that they talk about because you can just Google anything instantly. I mean, that's oh man, I could talk for days on how that's changing things, and I can't help thinking that it's for the better. Uh, uh, as we become more knowledgeable and it becomes obvious that it's easy to gain knowledge, people are just naturally gravitating towards more knowledge. They're actually putting, they're they are consciously choosing to ignore all the distractive entertainment and gobbledygook that doesn't matter, whether it's there by intent or just pure marketing garbage, whatever. They're choosing to ignore that in favor of good, solid information that is useful, often entertaining, but useful. Things that are good to know about how to actually live a healthy, functional, happy life. um, so yeah, and that ties into why I'm keeping busy because that's part of a healthy, functional life is keeping busy with things that interest you. And so that's my whole thing. I'm trying to build a self financially independent life for myself that involves me doing only things that I like to do that are somehow beneficial to somebody. Right now, all I've got is the e-commerce hoodie store and my blog. I can't believe I didn't do this sooner. Is redoing my India blog. You know, but I gotta stay. So yeah, I've been keeping busy with my reposting my India blog from when I went there in 2005 to 2007, and then I went to Israel right after that. And it's even better this time because I have all kinds of pictures that I didn't have before, and I can actually post them in line with the blog, which I couldn't do before or didn't know how to do. Um, because it used to be on MySpace. Remember MySpace? I had a blog on MySpace, and before it went down, I actually copied my entire blog, my all the content from my MySpace, and I somehow managed through all the years to keep it, thanks to Google Drive. Actually, I've had my Facebook account since 2007, um, and I've had a Google account since, or YouTube since at least that long as well. Which transformed into a Google. I don't know. I got Gmail when it first became available. All the things that Google started offering as they became available, I got them immediately. Like all their different services. I used to Google when Google was just Google. Before Google, okay, it's very important. I have to remember to turn off Google Assistant when I make videos because somehow it's not smart enough to know that I'm making a video and I don't want to be interrupted every 5 seconds when I say something relevant. I don't even know why it was opening. I didn't say, okay, Google. I didn't say, hey, Google. I just said, I was talking about Yahoo and it was opening. Google, fix it. What the hell? Anyway, back on subject. So, all right, let me start with my day. How my day goes from the beginning. I wake up usually pretty freaking early. I usually go to sleep anywhere between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m., depending. Sometimes if I'm watching something really interesting, um, I'll stay up a little bit later. But usually when the sun goes down, I go to sleep. And when the sun comes up, I wake up, or sometime before that. I get up anywhere between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. And I don't have like a set time. my eyes open and I make a conscious choice. Like, do I feel like I could go back to sleep or do I want to get up? Well, first I check the time. Every time I wake up in the middle of the night a lot. And what I do two things. I check the time and I check TradingView to see what the prices of crypto are. Um, anyway, so I wake up in the morning. I start getting things going so I can make coffee and breakfast for myself and my dogs because me and my dogs eat brown rice and oatmeal pretty much every day. Um, anyway, so yeah, I'll start prepping things to make that. I get my first cup of coffee going, and then I grab my phone and I usually go right for Yahoo Finance to see what's going on, and then I'll scroll through a number of other different live news stations to see what's going on in the world. Sometimes I'll scroll through Twitter and Instagram and whatnot. I make a conscious effort not to get too hooked on the Instagram feeds and to only look at things that I'm following. I hate that they do that. I'm so glad that Twitter finally like made it an option or an easy option to just see your feed and things that you follow. Like at some point they made this switch. They didn't ask anybody, they didn't give you a choice. They changed your home feed to some things that you follow and things they think you want to follow. Or I really think is things they think you should follow and look at. And or things from your that you follow that they feel you should keep up on. And I don't like that they're making those choices like at all. How can you even pretend to know? I mean, I guess if the algorithms, but they weren't. I mean, if the algorithms were working properly, I probably still would have noticed that it was going on, but I wouldn't have been upset about it because I would have been seeing things that I actually wanted to see. And I mean, sometimes it was, but more often than not, what it was things that would, on an addictive level, get my interest. You know, not things that I actually wanted to know, but things that are just like can't crack, digital crack. You know, just keep looking at it, keep looking at it, keep looking at the next one. Um, so that's one of the reasons I switched to TweetDeck. It lets you just look at your own home feed or specific your own lists and all those different things. Anyway, so yeah, I get up in the morning, I check all those different things in varying orders. Sometimes I go through my email, but almost religiously, I turn on Yahoo Finance right away. Because if you want to have a kind of a real down to earth idea of what's going on in the world without all the sensationalism and, oh, we're all going to die, we're all going to die from this, that. I mean, there's lots of dangerous things in the world and you need to know about them. But the idea that any of them are going to be some kind of cataclysmic end to the world, no, the only thing that's going to do that is like some kind of natural disaster type deal, pretty much. I used to think, maybe we could blow ourselves up, but I don't think we can. I have theories on that, but it's not worth talking about. I don't think nuclear holocaust is actually an option for us. I'm not saying we don't have nuclear weapons, that they don't work. I don't know. It's another subject. It's so easy to get distracted with what I do all day because everything leads off on a tangent. So, yeah, coffee, Yahoo Finance, and then I pick any number of my projects. Just whatever pops into my head creatively. What do I feel like? Sometimes a lot of it stems from what I see in the news. Will decide what I'm going to do next. Whether I'm going to go off posting like mad on my Twitter, like all the different, travesties and horrors going on in the world that we need to be paying attention to and doing more about instead of looking up to our government or some non existent God to do it. And so there's the e-commerce store. I might go to, doing different art pieces or coming up with a new graphic design for, my hoodies and t-shirts and coffee mugs and all that stuff. On fudashi.fashion, you can go there now and buy stuff. Sorry, Athena just went out after something. If I don't do that, I have to work on. I've been making a point of working on my blog every day now that I've got WordPress actually figured out. WordPress is my new MySpace, and I could have done this a long time ago. That's what I was talking about. Yeah. So I've been migrating my old MySpace blog, one post at a time in chronological order, like it was just happening. But I put the actual dates, that it happened back in 2005. So, I'm not pretending like it's new. But I am adding things. Pictures, yes, like that I actually have now of me and things I took pictures of while I was there, um, but also details from memory that I didn't put in before. There's going to be a lot more. Then my next written blog for the India section is actually going to take a day or two to get out, maybe longer. So people are going to have to suffice with me reposting my video log on there as well. Now my podcast will be there. I guess I'll probably just keep that all in the same section. Anyway, the where was I? Thank goodness for editing. um, oh yeah, so we're migrating my blog over podcast. People are gonna have to suffice with that for a while because I've gotten to a point in the vlog where I finished with the Hare Krishna section of the trip. It was the first month, and it was all in central India, in Vrindavan, Govardhan, and Mathura. Um, And then I went back to Delhi for a couple days. I got to that part where I'm in Delhi. But after that, I finally decide because I had to make a decision. Was I going to go home right then or was I going to try and travel a little more? And I was really burnt out from my first month in India. It was rough. I mean, it was amazing. It was incredibly intriguing and I never regretted being there, but it was also tough because it was a third world country. I got sick quite a bit. I was very liberal in what I would eat and drink. And swim in. I drank cow piss that I paid for. It came in a nice little bottle. I wish I still had that. Um, anyway, so yeah, I was really burnt out in it, but I had heard about this place called Rishikesh where the Beatles had gone to record one of their albums. I believe it was the White Album. And so I decided that I was going to make the trek up there and just see what that place was like first. And so I did, and it was amazing, and I'm so glad I did, and I ended up staying there for a longer time. And but I got so immediately absorbed into the Rishikesh scene, um, that I stopped blogging. There's a big jump from November 20th to March 2nd, from November 20th, 2005 to March 2nd, 2006, the next entry. And that entry on March 2nd is just one little paragraph. It says, "Oh man, a whole lot has happened," and la 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 la. Did I? It was pre-Shiva Riders, but it was post. I had just finished this drum that I had been carving on that I'd spent 3 months. I spent 3 months carving a drum, for one thing. Anyway, there's a lot of things that happened and places that I went, and people that I met, and talked to, and all that. So I'm gonna write a blog to actually, yeah, cover all of that stuff because it's, yeah, some of the most interesting times I had there. So yeah, we got the blog we're working on, e-commerce store we're still doing. It's been almost a year now. I still haven't sold anything to anybody yet, but I'm still working on new designs. My theory is I just keep working on it and keep coming up with new designs until I come up with something that's just so amazingly awesome that people cannot help but buy it. That's the idea. I have to come up with something so awesome, people can't help themselves. They're like, oh my God, they see it. I have to have that. I know that feeling. I've seen those things and I bought those things. So I want to create one of those things, at least one. And I figure if I just keep trying, eventually I'll get there. If it takes 10 years, God, I hope it doesn't. It's taken a year already, but I said I would give it at least a year. It hasn't been a full year yet. We still got a couple months left. So, fingers crossed that we like pull it together in that year time span. But if not, I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to stop. I said I would give it a year, but at this point, I'm invested into it personally, and it's something I'm always thinking about and working on every day. So we're gonna keep doing that, keep doing the blog. Um, I have a growing interest in sustainability. I'm going to start a sustainability section on my WordPress site. Eventually, if enough people start looking at it, I'm going to pay for the WordPress Pro. I'll figure out some way to come up with that money. Because then I can put Google Ads on it. And I'm sure it's so funny that I've been trying to get Google AdSense going on a news website for so long. And I could have just done this blog like a year ago and had it going then. Like, I'm sure like I would get approval immediately for my site as it is now. Um, because it's filled with original content. Useful, good, legit, stuff. It's too bad, but whatever. At least I figured it out. That's how you learn. That's how I always learned. I forgot that for a long time. I allowed my aging self to take over and forget that, the way you do new things is by trying them. You can't start out good. I think that's what happens to you when you get older and you get good at some things. It makes it really hard to fathom going back to zero and having to start over again. It's like some kind of natural aversion to it. But if you can get over that and recapture your youthful self or your youthful mindset, you're good. So I think I'm good. I think I'm good now. I'm in a good place. Um, I've got these projects. I'm going with it. Oh, and that's the other thing. I'm learning Chinese. I'm on day 28, 28 days in a row working on Chinese. The only thing I can remember to say is ni hao, hello. And I learned something, ni jiao, mensa. I'm learning a lot of stuff. Ba means eight. Um, see, I'm learning like greetings and names. And I went through numbers. It's really hard. Um, but I'm learning. I'm learning. It's getting easier. I realized something the other day. It's like I'm not doing so good yet at retaining the meanings of things, but when they have these parts I'm using Duolingo to learn Chinese. So they have these parts, one part or one style of lesson is they will say something and they want you to repeat it back. Oh man, I forgot to put this sideways again. Oh well, whatever. Um, and the sentences started getting long when it got to the greetings. And when I first started the lessons, I remember hearing them say these lines and and like I couldn't even discern separate words or anything. It just sounded like this stream of babble. But 2 days ago, I think, yeah, like 2 days ago, I was doing the lessons and it went through one of those lines and I realized that I was actually discerning the separate words and that, because I recognized them, but also it was carrying over into sentences with new words as well. I'm getting used to how the language sounds and how it flows. And so I can actually pick out the individual words that are being spoken in sentences, even if I don't understand what it means in English. And that's a huge step, at least to me. So, yeah. So that I work on those things all day somewhere on, I make sure to put out my solar panel to charge my batteries because that's how I get all my power for my phone and my tablet and my other little crappy phone that it's really just works as a router. Um, if I have to, I've ordered something as far as food, which is the only thing I get now is just food. It's the only thing I go into town for is food. And then occasionally to check the free box they have in town for clothes. Um, and then I'll, maybe find something to just kind of chill out with entertainment wise. I'll listen to Joe Rogan's podcast or Lex Friedman podcast or maybe watch CSIS forum or Council on Foreign Relations forum. Like I actually watch those things and I have to make a point of going through my Gmail every now and then for my AM Daily News account because I still get like 50 newsletters a day from every think tank and military source you could possibly imagine. I actually read them, or at least go through them, look for interesting things to read. And I follow Substacks by Glenn Greenwald and Matt Taibbi and Caitlin Johnstone and Michael Tracy and Aaron Mate. And of course, there's watching videos from Gonzalo Lira and Eva K. Bartlett, still trying to keep up on the Ukraine thing. I mean, yeah, there's no end to the things I can do to keep busy. But that's pretty much my day. Yeah, wake up, have coffee, watch the news, work on my various projects, make some more food throughout the day a little bit. I really just cook in the morning, and then I eat peanut butter and honey sandwiches for the rest of the day mostly. Um, I had a very limited budget for food, and it has to feed me and two dogs, and I do it. um, Eating's not the highlight of my day. It's purely functional at this point. Sometimes, I don't know, every now and then I'll spoil myself and buy some spare ribs or whatever. Oh, yeah, and that protein meal stuff. So I do well with that, energetically speaking and health wise. It's actually a very, probably the healthiest I've eaten ever in my life. But it's very plain and very repetitive. But it serves the purpose. That's what I needed to do. So yeah, that's my day in a nutshell. And I feel like I could go on longer and like podcasts should be longer. I'd like to do these for like at least an hour, but it takes a really long time to upload over my connection. Like just a 30-minute uh just a 30-minute podcast can take up to like 5 hours. Like no joke, 5, 6 hours plus to upload depending on speeds that day. So yeah. Anyway, podcast number 1 successfully completed. Thank you for watching. There will be more, many, many more. I am not going anywhere. So, see you soon.